In this episode, we break down the myth of the fall of Corregidor and explain the first tank-and-tank engagement of the Pacific War. Directly after the attack of Pearl Harbor, the Japanese launched an all-out offensive towards the islands of Southeast Asia, including the Philippines. The Japanese issued Lieutenant General Masaruma Homa's 14th Army for the mission. On December 10th, the Japanese had gained a foothold on the island of Luzon. In part of the defense of the Philippines, General Wainwright had gained intelligence reports of the Japanese 4th Tank Regiment of Lieutenant Colonel Kumagaya approaching U.S. lines. General Wainwright sent Captain Haynes' 192nd Tank Battalion to engage the Japanese formation. However, on December 22, 1941, the Captain Haynes' M3 Stuarts lacked fuel and were later ambushed by Type 95 Hagos. Only 4 M3 Stuarts survived the ambush, while the rest were knocked out. A few of the Stuarts were repaired, however, and were once serviceable under the Japanese forces. The Americans were forced to retreat towards the interior of Bataan and reform a new defensive line. The Japanese 14th Army were on hot pursuit. The Japanese successfully engaged with the US 57th and 45th Infantry Divisions as well as Philippines Commonwealth Forces. Due to the unrelenting pursuit of the Japanese, US forces were eventually pushed back all the way to the island Corregidor. The island of Corregidor was a strategical position to Manila Bay and the capture of northern Philippines. The man in charge of the Corregidor offensive was Major General Kurora Takahashi. Under him was the 7th Tank Regiment. Now, the 7th Tank Regiment was one of the first Japanese formations to be issued with Type 97 Chiha Shinto, equipped with the Type 1 high-velocity 47mm gun, and unlike the Type 95 Hagos 37mm gun, it had a greater firepower. In early May 1942, the Japanese had launched a preemptive aerial bombings on Corregidor, but faced some difficulty gaining a foothold on the island. The initial first wave faced strong resistance from the Filipino and US forces. However, the presence of Japanese tanks gave them a psychological edge. Only 3 tanks survived at the landings of Corregidor, with the commanders Takahisha, Chuida, and Ho. 2 of the tanks were Type 97 Chiha Shinto and 1 captured M3 Stuart. The Americans later counterattacked the Japanese beachhead at Denver Point on the island plateau. Chuida's Chiha Kai engaged several American positions. The counterattack ultimately failed. The 2 Type 97 Chiha Kais eventually pushed the American lines towards Water Tower Hill. They faced a few US anti-tank guns and a couple remaining Stuarts that survived the engagement from the battles of Luzon. Eventually, having secured Water Tower Hill, the Japanese continued advancing towards Meltilta Hill, the highest position on the island Corregidor. The 7th Tank Regiment eventually destroyed several of the remaining American pockets of resistance. On May 6, the 2 Type 97 Chiha Kais had secured Meltilta Hill and had a full overview of the remaining US facilities on the island. The following day of May 7, 1942, General Wainwright gave the orders to all US forces on Corregidor to surrender. Commanders Takashi and Toshida were labeled war heroes on the official newspapers of Japan and with the title of Tigers of Corregidor. The actions of these 2 tank commanders determined the course of the battle and the creation of the myth of 2 Chiha Kais engaging endless American Stuart tanks. Please like and subscribe for more future content.